We've seen some amazing things, but that, my friends, is something we've never seen.
Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Brandon wants advice.
Brandon Cruz wants advice. You have locked yourself into the playoffs.
Nice.
Got it.
Talk with old Brandon Cruz wants advice.
Completely speechless, to say the least.
Man, I am honestly so baffled by that decision. Brandon Cruz wants advice.
It's Brandon wants advice.
Green flag in the air. Brandon Cruz wants advice to the front.
It's the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go and look at low-owned plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any questions related to NASCAR or the NFL that you are too embarrassed to ask, you use a DFS provider, or if you can't find the answer anywhere else, or if you just want to know my opinion, give me a tweet at Brandon Cruz DFS, and most importantly, take everything here with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that's not my problem. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you how this video is going to be lined up. I'm going to talk about something I've seen in the industry right now related to contests and points related to lineups, things of that nature. Then I'm going to talk about guys that I liked entering the week. Then I'm going to talk about guys that I like, today. I'm recording this Friday, 1:47 p.m. I usually record this. Sorry about that. I usually record this Friday evening, Saturday morning. Figured I'd just make it Friday, just because I think I got a good idea of how this week's going to go. So first off, guys, I'm going to spend about 4 minutes talking about something I'm seeing in this industry. If you don't want to listen to that, skip up 4 minutes. If not, I highly advise you listen to this. So first off, I'm seeing something very interesting. If you go to, and I'm using this mainly just for visual representation so I can see it, but if you want to see it for yourself, you can go to linestarapp.com and you can check out the live scoring and the scores on all fantasy sites for every week and every player. So this last week, for example, I'm going to use the main slate, for example, where it has, the main slate, the $1 Million Maker DraftKings slate. This has every player and the scores that they got. Mike Evans had 48 points. First off, I said Mike Evans is going to have a good week. I had 2 p.m. saying that, I should have stressed that I thought Mike Evans was going to have a good week. Listen, I played Mike Evans for the first time this year last week. He got me 48 points. I'm jumping off that bandwagon. I won money last week off of Mike Evans. If you didn't play Mike Evans, that's on you. I told you to play him. Okay, so let me focus on this. So you had Mike Evans with 48 points, Keenan Allen with 46.6, Lockett with 35. I'm not going to do the fucking points. I'm just rounding whatever it is. Lockett 35, Shepard 30, Julio Jones 29, Mari Cooper 26, Marvin Jones 25, Aguilar 24. Those are all the guys who were, usually I focus on above 25, but I use Aguilar in the situation. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You had 8 wide receivers score at least 24 points. For quarterbacks, you had Wilson at 44, Daniel Jones 39, Mahomes 30, Watson 29, Winston 29, Ryan 26, Kyle Allen, 25. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You had 8 quarterbacks score over 25 points. For running backs, you had, I'm going to include Pollard in this because he was at 24.8. But you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You had 6 running backs score over 25 points. And I'm using 25 points as a baseline because that's a lot of points for a lot of people. You had 4 tight ends score over 24 points and 5 score over 22. And then you had defenses. You had, I believe it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You had 10 defenses score over 11 points. I understand. I'm classifying, 25 points here and there, 20 points here and there. The main thing is, the way that the NFL is going with focusing on passing, having all the rules focused around passing, things of that nature. Having running backs that are basically wide receivers now, hybrids that are 3 down backs that catch and run on every down. The points that we are seeing fantasy-wise are through the roof compared to a couple years ago. Gone are the days where you needed, a solid 9 lineup on DraftKings where you wish that you had one guy who gets 35 points, or you need that one star who gets 44 points or something like that. No, you have to construct the lineup now with all 9 positions, including defense. Well, I won't include defense. You have to construct a lineup with all 8 players getting at least 25 points if you want to take down a huge GPP. And if you want to really take one down, you need all of them to at least have over 29 points. Why is this important? It's harder to cash in lineups now than ever before, especially the years back. Due to this, I don't see a reason to play cash games at all. The cash game payout points, where it pays out 40% of the field. Let's say you're doing a double up. 40% of the field gets paid out. That point, that DK point amount is not that far away from a top 27% GPP payout DK point, fantasy points. However you want to look at it, the knockoff between cash games and GPPs score-wise are not that different anymore. It's not huge chunks. It's not a 30-point difference. This is a 10-point difference nowadays. I don't see a reason to play cash games. If you look at week number 2 of DraftKings, you had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You had 11 receivers over 20 points. And I could be wrong. I'm just kind of counting fast here to make a point. Jared Goff at 20.12, Mahomes 35.62. So between that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You had 10 quarterbacks score over 20 points. Patriots defense, that was kind of a interesting little thing there. Including let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You had 6 running backs score over 23 points week number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. You had 4 tight ends score over 20 points week number 2. I'm just saying it's no longer a game that you can play focusing on getting a safe lineup. You can't do that anymore. You have to go for the star-studded lineup that gets you a lot of points. If that makes sense, I'm glad it's making sense. If not, then it's just kind of a useless ramble. After that, let me focus on Yahoo and how the industry is facing right now. We are at a weird spot between gambling being legal. I wish they'd bring back poker. But gambling being legal and all these fantasy sites. I mean, you have DraftKings, you have FanDuel, Yahoo, Fantasy Draft, Monkey Knife Fight, Draft.com. All these fantasy sites that are taking consumers from each other. I play on FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo. And I just started on Yahoo 3 weeks ago. Before that, I was solely on FanDuel and DraftKings. And before that, I was solely on DraftKings. So I don't know how many people are playing the amount of money that I do on each of these sites, but if you're just a recreational guy putting $3 in somewhere, you might just be on one site. And so the competition is far, far less than what it was a couple years back. Yahoo's a perfect example of what I want to show you. I didn't play on Yahoo week 1. I just heard about the overlay, and I jumped on it week 2. Week 2, they had $1 million baller, no rake. Had 60,000 possible entries. It did not fill. It massively underfilled. It was at I think it filled at maybe 48,000 people, and it was supposed to be at 60,000 or something. And so instead of a 25% GPP or whatever with no rake, it ended up being a 40% GPP where 40% of the people got paid out. And so if you didn't play in that, you basically lost out on free money. Last week, there was a $500,000 baller, $10 entry, I think it was 51 or 52,000 entry contest. It only got to 44,000 people in there, and so it went from 26 or whatever it was. Here, let me look. I think it was at, I don't know, it was at 26, 27% payout, and it jumped up to a 29, 30% payout. So the massive overlay. This week they've lowered it even more. Now it's a $400,000 GPP with only 4,400 or 44,000 entries. This will most likely fill, but it's a much smaller field. There's not as much overlay in there. Yahoo was having massive overlay. I heard the same thing with Fantasy Draft. I probably missed out on that. Not going to worry about it this season, but a lot of these sites had huge overlay, which means people were not filling up guaranteed contest, and because of that, more people are being paid out. That's what you wanted to look for when the season started. That's showing that, fantasy sports as a whole, or daily fantasy sports as a whole, it's kind of shrinking right now. I think it'll come back up in a few years, but we're at a dry spot, man. This is no good at all for a lot of people. So you got to be aware of what contests you're facing, who you're facing in those contests, and what the percentage of the people getting paid out. Half the time, I just see it more advantageous to just enter a fucking GPP over a stupid cash game. Yahoo, for example, I'll give you this. I put $20 in week number 2. I used Awesomo's promo code or whatever. It basically gave me an additional $20. So I went into Yahoo, $20 of my own money, $20 bonus money. Week number 2, walked out with like $240. Last week walked out with even more. I just withdrew $170 from Yahoo this past week just because I wanted to keep that as my own money, and I'm going to keep playing with the rest that's in Yahoo. And I won't spend all that in entries this week, and I'll probably withdraw again come Monday morning. But Yahoo has been stupidly successful for me. Basically do that overlay, but I don't know what it is up with Yahoo. I'm killing on Yahoo so far this year. DraftKings, if you don't listen to Pat Mayo, go to one of his videos on YouTube and enter the Pat Mayo Experience Listener League. It's a $4,000 contest. It's a 4,000 people contest, $60,000 guaranteed, pays out 1,005 people, so it's just over 25% being paid out, 25% guaranteeing doubling their money. Best contest on DK, no rake, none of that. These are the contests you want to try and find. Now that I'm done with that rant, and I'm done saying like, hey, cash games are basically fucking stupid. There's too many players getting high points to make cash games irrelevant. You might as well play GPPs. And even at that point, you still need all the guys that make a lot of points. It's difficult being a daily fantasy sports player right now. Alright, now that we're done with that, I want to focus on this week's player pool. I'm sorry I'm 12 minutes into it right now. I'm going to get through it as fast as I can. Here we go. Entering the week. My early look, week 4. I wanted to see what the industry was saying. I wanted to see what people were writing. I wanted to see what big names were saying. I wanted to see what small names were saying on Reddit. People that were interested in and seeing what they were talking about. For quarterbacks, Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, and Lamar Jackson. Running backs were Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Merlin Mack. One of my first opinions was that it looked like a week that I cannot play down at running back. I'm going to have to play up. I'll pay down at wide receiver. We'll figure it out from there. I still love Keenan Allen, and I'm jumping off Mike Evans. I already told you that. Julio Jones, Allen Watkins, T.Y. Lockett, all 3 of the Rams receivers, Josh Gordon, Tyrell Williams, Larry Fitzgerald, Stephon Diggs, DJ Chark, DK Metcalf, Dorsett Beasley, McLaurin Humphreys, Darius Slayton, and Preston Williams were the receivers that I had some interest in that I wanted to see how people were going to talk about. O'Shaughnessy, Sprinkle, Olsen Hooper, Waller, Ingram, and Kelsey were the tight ends that I wanted to see what people would say. And then defenses, I had some early interest in the Chargers, Jags, Seahawks, Baltimore, Falcons, and Buccaneers. Those are the guys I liked. Monday, Tuesday, mid-Wednesday. When I started finalizing my player pool, the cheap pivots that I wanted to look at, the bad matchups that I want to take advantage of, these are the people that... This isn't necessarily my final player pool, but it's a good little example of who I'm looking at. Now, it's going to be a shitload of names, over 40 names here. I play a lot of lineups. I'm playing at least probably 10 lineups on DK. I know for sure 8 lineups on Yahoo. I'll probably do maybe 6 or 7 on FanDuel. So this is why it's so many names. But this can at least give you ideas on pivots and plays that I like. So running backs, the way that I do it is the way that I do these categories is that I have a quote unquote cheap and pivot section, and then I have the quote unquote good section, which is usually chalk or just people in good situations or good players. So in the cheap pivots section for the running backs, I have Nick Chubb. I have some interest in Nick Chubb. No one really talking about him. Let me bring up this matchup. I'm on the wrong computer. I have two two computers locked up, and I jump back and forth between each of them because I'm a little hacker man. If you haven't seen my Millionaire Maker video, now would be the time for me to point out. Go check that out. It has some cool statistics on the Millionaire Maker. Anyway, Nick Chubb is facing. I just went blank. He's facing Baltimore. Where is he at? I just went blank. What the fuck? Dude, oh god, he's facing Baltimore. All right, now right now, opponents ranking 6th in the league against, or they're the 6th ranked defense. I understand that right now. Not a lot of people talk about Chubb. Chubb is in an interesting situation. He's coming off, 17 fantasy point game, 23 attempts, 96 yards against the LA Rams. He was targeted 7 times, caught 4. I'm not saying the Rams are equivalent to Baltimore, but I think Baltimore is going to spend a lot of time locking down OBJ and trying to rush Baker Mayfield. I think Nick Chubb could get a lot of early downs, just quick throws. And on a PPR site like DraftKings, you want all those catches. That's why I had some interest in Chubb. Fournette, everybody hates Fournette. Nobody is playing Fournette. I have been all over Fournette. He's killing me right now in some lineups, but I still have faith in Fournette at 6,000. Very low owned play. Carson, same deal. What a fucking shit show Carson put up last weekend. He should have smashed. He should have fucking smashed. Hindsight is always 20/20, but entering that week, Carson should have been the best running back of the week. It just did not work out that way. He was supposed to be the dog that carried that team. He fumbled the fucking ball, only had 15 attempts, only had 1 target. Horrible, horrible game. I'm interested in Chris Carson only because the population will not go back to him. Josh Jacobs at $5,100, a little too cheap for my taste, or a little too cheap for me in general. Should be a bit higher, facing the Colts. You can have some interest there. On the Patriots side, I have interest in White and Burkhead. I have no interest in Michelle. I want a running back from this New England game. I just cannot figure out who I want from it. The reason why is Michelle has not done anything this year. He has had no success. Let me get a drink right fast. He has had no success. James White has not been able to be used because they have not been down in games yet. The only reason he has points on DK right now is because he keeps being targeted, 4 to 7 times a game, but they haven't really needed him to do anything. And he was gone last week having a baby. Rex Burkhead is the guy that I really like right now. Rex Burkhead has had nothing but success in the backfield of New England. Michelle has not been doing anything, but Burkhead is the guy who's been kicking ass this year. Even if he's been limited this year with only 11 attempts, he's still been targeted a lot. He's still being used a lot. Now, right now, he practiced in limited fashion this week. We got to check and see if he's even playing. But I really like Burkhead a lot over the other the running backs in New England. If I had to pick one guy down there at $4,400, I really, really like Burkhead. Gore's another guy I would look at just because he's cheap. It's $4,000. They're facing New England. That's a tough matchup, but man, Gore's the only guy there that I see being used last week. He had a pretty decent game, man. 16 points. Are you kidding me? That's not bad at all. Adrian Peterson at $4,300. Yes, I understand. They might be down again. They might need to use Chris Thompson, but I think I like AP, man. He can ease. I just like AP as a low-owned play. Probably won't work. I might not have him a whole lot of lineups. I have at least one lineup with Adrian Peterson in it. Philip Lindsay at $5,200 is another guy that is piquing my interest on the cheap pivot category. Now the good, obviously, McCaffrey, Cook, DJ, Ingram, Henry, Mack, and Eckler. Some things to note here. McCaffrey, still the most expensive guy. I think if I'm going to pay up, I'm going to pay down to at least Dalvin Cook. Maybe David Johnson, Ingram. I don't like playing McCaffrey just because I don't like paying that much for a running back when I can get the same amount of points from another running back. I'd like Todd Gurley a little bit, but he's just not being used. Dalvin Cook is easily the best back in the league right now. He's having a monster season, and he should continue being that way because, yeah, sure, they use Ham here and there as the fullback, but Cook's badass, man. Play Cook. He's my favorite running back. David Johnson, little cheap. They're going to have to use him against Seattle. $6,800, not bad at all. Mark Ingram, this is interesting. I was very high on Mark Ingram entering the year. I have him in every single one of my season-long fantasy lineups. I'm still waiting to see how the public reacts to his jump. Right now it's Friday. I want to see what people are talking about their usage on him on Saturday when I decide to make my lineups. But he should smash again against Browns. He's in a fantastic spot. The Ravens are in a fantastic spot in general. But Mark Ingram should have another great season. Derrick Henry for Tennessee. Tennessee just likes to run the damn ball. They don't do anything else. Henry is just like Le'Veon Bell. He's going to get that stupid thing 15 guaranteed times a game. Henry based solely on the amount of snaps and the percentage that he's going to touch the ball on pretty much every play for Tennessee. Mack at 61 facing a pretty weak Oakland defense. I know I don't believe in Oakland's defense. I have some interest in Mack because when they need him to perform, he will, just like week number 1. Then Eckler, with Gordon announcing that he's going to return back to the team, I expect them to just run Eckler into the ground. But that's what they should have done with fucking Carson last weekend for the Seahawks. So we're going to have to see where that goes. All right. Wide receivers, my cheap pivot, bad matchup category. This is where all my cheap guys are. If you are here from the DFS Tavern Discord, if you're here looking for cheap guys, cheap pivots, guys that you need, this is the list. I'm just going to read off the list. Preston Williams, Darius Slayton, Hump Daddy Humphreys, Philip Dorsett, Chark Jr., Cole Beasley, Curtis Samuel, Par Richardson, Trey Quinn, Anthony Miller, Keyshawn Johnson, and Cordell Patterson are my cheap wide receivers that I have listed. I didn't say the fucking prices. I'm dumb as hell. Williams is at $3,900. Slayton's at $32. Humphreys is at $4,000. Dorsett $47. DJ is at $51. Beasley $47. Curtis Samuel $36. Paul Richardson $37. Trey Quinn minimum price $3,000. Anthony Miller $37. Johnson $32. And Cordell Patterson $36. Now why do I have these guys right here? Well, Terry McLaurin for the Redskins is injured. He got injured on Wednesday in practice. He might miss the game because of that. Paul Richardson, and Terry was already chalked to begin with, but Terry was going to carry ownership. I don't believe he's going to play. That's going to lead a lot of people to go use Richardson and Quinn, but I completely agree with that. I'm perfectly fine eating the chalk in this situation because Richardson and Quinn have been used. I already like Case Keenum a lot. I see no problem using those two guys. Now, Anthony Miller. Now, why am I using that? Gabriel scored all the points with the game on Monday for Chicago. Well, let me talk to you about this right here. Gabriel has been officially ruled out. He will not play Sunday against the Vikings. Damn shame, too. He had a fantastic run. The reason I'm interested in Anthony Miller is because he was at least on the field last weekend. I'm not very, very high on Miller, but I would expect him to at least, be on the field more, things of that nature. Patterson is the real gem that I want to see how they use him this week with Gabriel out. Patterson was on the field doing everything. He didn't score a whole lot of fantasy points, but he was doing everything. He was rushing a shitload. He was on the field a lot. Chicago really, really likes Patterson. They've been wanting to slowly move him more on the field as a wide receiver, use him in more situations. He's already the kick returner, but man, I really like Patterson this week for the Bears. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about him at all, but his usage, I haven't looked up the percentage number, but just viewing the games that he's been a part of, they want to use him as an important role in the Chicago offense. I really like Patterson this weekend. Samuel for for Carolina, go either way. $4,600, you're just looking for a cheap guy. He's been targeted a shitload. Week 1 was 4, but week 2 is 13. 7 targets last weekend. Over 15 points, or 14.3, 16. That's around what you want from $4,000. Cole Beasley, I wish he was priced a bit cheaper, but I do really like Cole Beasley in this situation. I expect New England to win it, and I've been all over Josh Allen this year. I think the Patriots locked down John Brown. I think because of that, Beasley is the number one target in Buffalo. Let's see. Those are the main points. Humphreys, I expect him to be used more. It took a little bit longer than I thought for Tennessee to start using Adam Humphreys as he should be used. Last weekend he had a good week. That's what I expected to start the season. But for $4,000, I'll take that risk on Hump Daddy's doing that. Williams for Miami, the other guy that I really like from my list right here. The reason that I like him is because the Chargers have been killer. Parker is quote-unquote the number one wide out for Miami. I expect the Chargers to really knock him down. Preston Williams was targeted 12 times last week. A lot of those are not legit targets because I feel so bad for Rosen, but he's being killed again. He's just having to dump it off so he doesn't get constantly sacked, and Williams is usually the guy close to him. That's why he has 12 targets, only 4 catches. But 12 targets, 4 catches. Are you kidding me? Give me that, man. I love Williams this week for a cheap play at $3,900. That's all I'm wanting, and he has a high upside. If he can get the ball more, he's going to have a very, very high upside. Good wide receivers that I have listed that I do have interested in. Julio Jones, Hopkins, but not as much as Jones. Keenan Allen, I've been playing Keenan Allen every week. I'm not going to stop now. Really interested in OBJ. Don't think I'm going to play Evans anymore. T.Y. if he plays. Lockett, Gordon, Shepard, Larry Fitz are the other guys that I would look at. So that's my, I guess, quote-unquote player pool for the wide receivers. Now, quarterbacks, cheap, quote-unquote pivots, things of that nature. Case Keenum, very, very high on Case Keenum. Dude, the guy is $4,900 on DraftKings this week. Are you kidding me? What? Dude, that's crazy. What are you guys doing? Look at his previous games. He's having damn close to 40 pass attempts each game because they're behind. It's like last year with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was behind in every single game. He had to throw the ball 50 times because they can't run it when you're down that much. Case Keenum is who I really, really like if I'm going to pay down this weekend. I also really like Jacoby Brissett. As I said, I liked him before the week started. I like him now. Not a lot of people, at least some people are talking about it, but some people are scared if T.Y. isn't there. Jacoby is not a bad play, and he's right in the he's priced at a weird point where I don't think people are going to go. He's $5,400. I think people are going to either go high or below that. Mariota. Don't ask me why. I really like Mariota in this play against Atlanta. I just like Mariota. I'm sure I'm going to have a Mariota lineup here and there. Matt Ryan at $5,900. Phillip River at 62. People that I like. Other quote good people. Obviously, I got to say Mahomes, Jackson, Brady would probably be the people I would go to if I'm going to pay up. Although I do have some interest in Wilson and Murray if I were to pay up as well. But I like Rivers more than all those guys. Tight ends, cheap pivots that I like. Will Disley for Seattle. Now with, what's his name? Vanette. I think his name's Vanette. I just went blank. Let me see. Yeah, Nick Vanette got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Will Disley should be the only catchable tight end that Seattle has. Cardinals suck at defending the tight ends. As a Cardinal fan, I can confirm that to you, but we suck in general. Will Disley, $3,600, pretty cheap, should put up a good amount of points. If I were to pay down, the two guys I'd pay down for would be James O'Shaughnessy for Jacksonville and Jordan Atkins for the Texans at $2,700. O'Shaughnessy had a touchdown last weekend, had some targets here and there. Not too wild, not too crazy about him, but if I were to pay down at $3,000, that's not bad at all. Only targeted 3 times, though. Kind of shitty there. Atkins for the Houston Texans. $2,700. I don't know, but he's $2,700. You can't really beat that. What? Well, hold on a minute. Where's he at? Oh, it's $3,100. I had the wrong thing written down. I have him under 27. I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. It's $3,100. I apologize for that. I wrote down the wrong thing. I was like, wait a minute. But last weekend, 5 targets, 3 receptions with 50 or 73 yards. 2 touchdowns. Not sure that's going to happen again, but I can at least hope for it. We're still waiting for TJ Hawkinson to actually do something. Vernon Davis at $34, OJ Howard at $39, and Austin Hooper at $43 would be the cheap guys that I would target. Waller, Andrews, Walker, and Ingram are in play. I don't see a reason going up to Kelsey. The main people that I would use would be Hooper, just because I've been using Hooper all year. I like Waller a lot if he's healthy. Probably Will Disley. Maybe Delaney Walker, just because I don't think people will go to him. But I got to see how these injuries shake up. We're recording this Friday. We got to see how it goes. The defensive guys, I have no change in the people that I liked entering the week. Buccaneers and Falcons are still people that I like. And people are like, oh man, how can you play the Bucks? Listen, I had the Bucks winning that game yesterday. I got knocked out of the FanDuel Survivor. I had the Bucks winning. And if they didn't have a fucking missed field goal, they would have won it. But guys, listen. Last week, they should have been killed with how good the Giants scored. But they got sacks. They had defensive recoveries. And they had 8 points on DraftKings. For nearly minimum price, if you can give me 8 points for my defense, I'll take that, man. Give me that discount. The Falcons. As I said, I like Mariota. Mariota could just very well shit the bed. I like the Falcons there for cheap. Then the other guys I would look at would be Chargers, Jags, Seahawks, and Ravens. I'd probably focus more on the Chargers and Jags if I'm going to really start building teams. Those will probably be the teams that I go with. And we have made it through my notes. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. It was a bit longer than usual, but I wanted to focus in on that type of stuff. Thank you for spending a half hour listening to my stuff. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Follow me on Twitter. I got a Patreon in the description if you'd like to care and to support me. If not, just leave in the comment section that you want me to shut the fuck up or something. So guys, thank you for listening. Best of luck this week. Yet again, look at FanDuel, man. I've had nothing but success on FanDuel this year. And yeah, man, this has been a damn good year for me so far. So I certainly cannot complain. Thank you guys for listening. I will talk to you guys next time. NASCAR videos should be out tomorrow, at least for the Cup Series. That might be the only one I make this week. Guys, enjoy your day, and thanks for listening.